Hello, I'm Kanche Ilaiah Shepherd. Today, I will briefly talk about uh, the India Pakistan war that luckily came to an end, and it was in the context of the horrible terror attack that Pakistani trained uh, terrorists attacked Indian innocent people in Kashmir. And thereafter, on 7th May, the Indian government had to really go after the terrorist camps in Pakistan, and they did so. Thereafter, for 3 days, there was firing on both the sides, and at the ground level, in the Air Force level, and also there was heavy preparation in the Navy level as well. But, however, the war ended for the good. I mean, no country, no people wish a war between two neighbors, because we know that war is a very destructive uh, thing, and it will destroy both the sides, whatever the country's strength is. But one of the issues that became a global news now after the war ended is, why is it that the American president first declared the ceasefire at an early hour in America, perhaps around 4:35 in the early morning. The American president tweeted that that this is what he said: after long night of talks mediated by the United States, I am pleased to announce that India and Pakistan have agreed to a full and immediate ceasefire. And he also congratulated both the countries on using common sense and great intelligence. Now, he said that after after long night of talks mediated by the United States of America. Now, the question is, when two countries are at war, any third country may come and negotiate, may come and discuss, or the countries involved in the war may talk to the heads of the countries or the foreign ministers, and they can involve in bringing the entire war to an end, because that's a good thing to happen. Much more than any other individual country, it should have been the United Nations, the UNO, and the General Secretary of the UNO. He should have involved in engaging with both the countries, asking for ceasefire, and then negotiating with both the countries. In this case, quite unfortunately, UN remained completely silent, and it appears that both the Indian foreign ministers and maybe other officials, security officials, and so on, must have talked to different countries. Now, when a third country involves in negotiations, naturally they must have helped in coming to an agreement that the war should come to an end, ceasefire must happen. But never in the history of wars, before the countries involved in the war told their respective countries that serious negotiations are going on, war is likely to end at least, and both India and Pakistan are also discussing simultaneously when firings was going on, uh, air attacks were going on, all this was happening. Neither India nor Pakistan told those countries that this kind of serious dialogue between the countries is happening, nor they suddenly announced to their respective nations that the war will come to an end soon and there is a possibility of coming to an agreement, at least immediately, to ceasefire in the interest of common people of both the countries, in the interests of the soldiers who are likely to, get inflicted. In fact, both the sides, there were some soldiers who also died. Which side more, which side less, which side suffered more damage, which side suffered less damage is one thing in the international discourse or in the moral discourse of wars. But what happened in this situation is the American president Donald Trump, from his personal Twitter handle, told the world that there will be a ceasefire with immediate effect. And after that, after 2-3 hours, both India and Pakistan declared that the firing is going to stop. There is an agreement between the director generals of both the armies, and they came to an agreement that from 5 o'clock onwards in the region, firing would come stop. Ceasefire will take place. Now, this was a very happy news for both the countries, happy news for the people. But the question is, why is Trump doing this kind of a thing? First of all, it is immoral on his part. As a third party, whatever could be his stature, whatever could be his country's strength, whatever could be his mediating capacity, whatever could be their diplomatic strengths, why did he announce it? Is it moral? Now, in India, even in the Pakistan, could be lot of discussion around this. Why Trump treated these countries as if that they have no governments, as if the fighting was not between their armies. Why is it that he treated the countries which were fighting, the soldiers which were at loggerheads in the field of wars across the borders? Now, why did he do that? First of all, as a political scientist, as a person who knows about the diplomatic strategies of the world, after all, uh, we we know that First World War took place, Second World War took place, which was much bigger. Many wars took place, even, for example, between India and Pakistan. There were three major wars earlier. In 1965, in 1971, and later Kargil War, Kargil 1 and 2. And now, this time, this so happened that after all, While the agreement was being signed between India and Pakistan in, in the context of 1965 war, Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri and the Prime Minister of Pakistan met in Tashkent. And there, unfortunately, at the time of signing an agreement between these two countries, Lal Bahadur Shastri, our great Prime Minister, died with heart attack. Not that we don't know this, but India had a war between China and India as well in 1962. But no third country could say that the ceasefire will take place or the war will start uh, as a third party. Now, Donald Trump, I think, is treating the world and treating the biggest democracy like India. Of course, with all their crisis in Pakistan, they have their own system, which is not a stable democracy like India, but they have their own system. Now, why no other president could do this? In 1962, when India-Pak war was taking place, great President John F. Kennedy was President of America. And in 1971 also, I think, if I remember correctly, Nixon was president. And their intervention was not even accepted by the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Now the question is, it is also true that no country's head, whether of India or of Pakistan, could have expected, even if they know that America was involving in negotiations, America was trying to work for ceasefire, no prime minister, or even both the countries would have expected that Trump would tell first. Naturally, what could have happened? See, his own officials who were involved in the negotiations must have communicated to him that the ceasefire agreement has been reached. Now, if that news is told to the President of India, America, immediately, like an irresponsible leader in the world of such a big country, tweets that ceasefire will happen immediately. Now, this is not moral. In my view, no leader in the world, even if UN were to involved in this kind of a negotiation, if the UN General Secretary were to tell both the countries and the world that ceasefire agreement has been reached before those countries told the countries of their own. Now, this is immoral. It cannot happen like that. Now, in my view, Trump and his administration has put not only India and Pakistan, but see, earlier he has been talking about ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia, Israel and Palestine. Several times he treated actually ceasefire is happening, ceasefire is happening. It did not. Whereas here it happened and he did not even wait for the countries, the respective countries, in their own manner to declare to their people. Now, why is he doing this? Earlier Trump insulted India when Indian Prime Minister was right in his country. He packed up the so-called illegal migrants in a military train, handcuffed them and brought back to India and left them in Chandigarh. Now, this itself was a humiliation. After all, they could have discussed with our Prime Minister, our own flights could have brought them back. That was possible. India did not refuse to do that. So, and in this case, just before few days, the Vice President of America, J.D. Vance, comes here, talks about general things, goes back. When the war starts just a day before, he says, it is none of our business to interfere. Now, I as a political science student find this president and vice president working in a very strange way. No vice president earlier issued such big policy matters about war zones in the world, uh, statements like this. For example, Kamala Harris were president, vice president. She never toured like that. She never spoke like that. She never issued statements like that. Always statements come in a proper channel by spokespersons or the proper officials. Now, in this case, the president and the vice president issue statements about other countries. I think the whole world must protest. It is not just India. It is not the respective governments who have been humiliated in this manner. Because see, if Trump has created crisis in tariff issues, in moral issues, in ethical issues, that is a general, uh, concern of the world, and it is the concern of American people. If he had something against China or against any country, he can deal with them, but he cannot humiliate sovereign nations. A country like India, even a country like Pakistan. This is not the way the world should allow American President Trump or J.D. Vance to take, the entire Asian continent and entire world for granted. I think the entire world has to condemn uh, Donald Trump's approach and attitude, the kind of statement he gave before the countries involved in the war told their own people. This is a very serious political, ideological, and diplomatic issue. Thank you all.